Okay, we are trying again. The quick okay, just pick up where we were, or kind of start over, or whatever, and get it going. Oh, says we're live. Let's see if that's accurate. Okay, I am gonna go ahead and just act like this is working, and I've kind of got my feed over here on the side, so we'll just keep an eye on that. I'm just gonna start over. This is my first stream. I've been wanting to do this for a minute. I've been thinking about doing this for a minute. I've got a lot of different ideas of what I want to do. Basically, where I started to really feel a pull to do this is the fact that we're in the middle of a culture war, and there is not a s- there are some leftist voices and there are some liberal news channels and stuff that generally push back against some of the more aggressive alt-right, far-right forces in this nation, but in reality, then you have the liberal media networks, CBS, CNN, even MSNBC, to be fair, um, who are in the case of CBS and CNN, bought out by pro-Israel, you know, like anti-socialist Democrats. Um, People like Barry Weiss who think that it's more important to run propaganda for Israel than it is to be a legitimate liberal news network. Basically, associating like liberal democratic values with support of the state of Israel, endless funding of their war, the genocide, of whatever imperialist violence they want to carry out. That's what the current Democratic Liberal Party is all about in America. So, Brennan Lee Mulligan, Brennan Lee Mulligan from Dropout. If you haven't seen Dropout, you're missing out. It's incredible. But Brennan Lee Mulligan recently said this thing, had a very viral clip of him talking about Hassan and talking about how he's basically out here dying for our sins. He's the main person. He's like in the crosshairs of every APAC backed candidate, Fox News, and even the fucking liberal democratic news networks that claim that they're pro left, pro democracy. Um, if you've got someone who's a genuine advocate for human and workers' rights, who is anti-Israel unapologetically, anti-imperialist, anti-capitalist, then even the quote-unquote Democrats turn around and call him a communist and uh, try to deplatform him. And there are like examples of them actually trying to deplatform him, especially the government trying to like essentially label these people as like you know, terrorist, bad faith agitators, lumping them in with like Nick Fuentes and Candace Owens, who are literally spitting conspiracy theories about, uh, uh, like Jewish people and Israel's involvement in like Charlie Kirk's murder and shit, like more sort of like fringe, less rational belief systems, by my opinion. Um, but lumping that in with Hassan, who is just notably a critic of Israel, a critic of American imperialism, and a critic of just the capitalist system we live in general, that is not set up to actually serve the working class. It's set up to serve like an imaginary uh, you know like it's like if you can see it in your mind's eye that one day you'll be a good boy billionaire, you'll have everything you ever wanted, and you'll not be anyone's bitch, then that's like this image they hold in their mind, and they see that as a attainable goal. I've gotten off topic. The point is, I have started doing this because I don't think there are enough people out here um, just saying what is, I think, becoming more and more the common sense opinion in America, which is if we're the richest country in the world, the greatest, most freest country in the world, then it makes no sense whatsoever that our so many of our people would be suffering, and that we have a really terrible budgeting priority of thinking that it's in America's best interest, first and foremost, to send billions, billions and billions of dollars to the Middle East, but in particular to Israel, so that they can carry out their genocide, their imperialist expansion, and try to basically, I mean, be our vicious, rabid, guard dog in the Middle East that's supposed to keep all these nasty, nasty um, terrorist countries in check when they are actually carrying out a genocide with American dollars and arms. Um, but it's different when they do it. So that's I lost the point of what I was saying. Um, fuck Israel's genocide. Aha, there we go. Yeah, the money sent to Israel to bomb children in hospitals and shit. Um, and wasted in the recent Iran war that resulted in fucking nothing except a waste of everyone's money and honestly a weakening of America's image in the global uh, I don't know power hierarchy, so to speak. Yeah, America comes out of that looking like we're at the mercy of Israel's judgment, no matter what, even if it's in our against our own best interests, even if other countries are like, Jesus fucking Christ, get that straight open because I'm losing money. We go, well, Israel, and it's like, so they own us basically is the first thought. Second thought is that we get in, yeah, so we go into this war, we waste so much of money there, waste the money in Gaza and in Iran, because in Iran we got basically nowhere. We ended up doing a worse agreement than Obama's JCPOA. And so it's like, well, what was all that billions of dollars for? Just to fucking show cock? I don't know. The point is, it was not uh, deemed uh, to be an important use, better allocation of the funds to make sure like American families get fed and like American, you know, uh, people have a higher quality of life. It's just not a fucking priority apparently. And even to say that out loud is some communist bullshit because you're supposed to pull yourself up by your bootstraps and blah blah blah. No one fucking wants that. That's like a lie we've all been sold. So, hi, I'm Dakota. This is my worldview. Okay, now I'm gonna move on to just some stuff I wanted to talk about. My girlfriend actually is the reason I've started doing this today, and she had recommended that I come and kind of do a video diary of sorts talking about how I've been feeling lately. Also, this is my old Quality Inn shirt from my old job where I was fired by some um, bastard, and so I kept it as a keepsake. Okay, so earlier this year, um, there was kind of a fight. I mentioned this in the other attempt at this stream, but I'll just say it again to kind of make it clear. There was a fight between the Democrats and the Republicans. There was a temporary government shutdown, and during that government shutdown, SNAP was not being, well, I think other programs as well, but SNAP in particular was not being funded, and it was very concerning for lots of, you know, underprivileged American families. Which honestly, even saying that sounds fake. I know many, many American families that benefit from SNAP, and you wouldn't look at them and say, "Oh, look, yes, a poor family." They're just people. There's people. The families cost a lot of money, and SNAP helps a lot of families. I also grew up in a trailer with a single mom, and SNAP was part of how we kept food on the table. So, point being, there was a fight between the Democrats and the Republicans during the government shutdown earlier. I believe it was earlier this year, earlier in 2026, at the beginning of 2026, or maybe at the end of 2025. Um, there was this fight of sorts where the government shut down, and then because of that, SNAP was not going to be funded, and so there was a race and like a sense of pressure and fear, panic, that led people to believe that it seemed urgent and rightfully so that we get SNAP funded again. Um, I'm sorry, I'm just doing a quick thing and then I'm going to get back to this point. Okay. Uh, so earlier this year, yes, the fight between the Republicans and the Democrats, the government shutdown, the lapse in SNAP funding, a lot of pressure, fear, worry in the country, underprivileged families, worried about they're going to feed their children, rightfully so. Um, but the Democrats were trying to fight for another form of low-income assistance that is really, really maybe even more important. If we want to do a value, you know, assessment between those two things, you could argue that what they were fighting for was more important, and what they were fighting for was to try to keep the Obamacare ACA subsidies in place. Now, with that all said, they didn't succeed. Chuck Schumer caved. Uh, I don't much care for Chuck Schumer's incompetent neoliberal bullshit, but I will say that, I don't know if he made the right choice. I at least understand that he must have been under great pressure to get food money back in the pockets of American families. It's like a pretty, I kind of can't blame him for that totally. I do just think that it was weak of him to step away from his party and decide, uh, no, what's most important is resuming food stamps rather than making sure that American families can keep their health care, or at least can afford their health care. So, for instance, for me last year, I think I ended up getting Ambetter insurance in Arkansas for 2 cents a month, which came out to 12 cents for a year. So I just went ahead and paid the whole thing right there. There's no point in not doing that. So then it's like, cool, your insurance costs you 12 cents for a year. That's that. You get to go to the doctor and counseling and stuff for free for a year. Um, it's pretty incredible. It, like, actually lets you not worry about whether you can or can't go to these things. You just do the things you need to do. So beneficial. I was on medications, different psychiatric medications, antidepressants and such. I had also been put on Cymbalta, which is, I believe, also an antidepressant, but it specifically targets the nervous system. And my doctor put me on it at the time because I was describing chronic pain, and his best estimation at the time was that it was probably a nervous system issue, which is not, uh, if you know me at all, not sounds legit. I'm a very nervous person, and I've also had a lot of different uh, experiences regarding my nervous system throughout my life. In particular, not to get too in depth, but once I started on Cymbalta, I even felt like my stomach was like calmer, like because your nervous system affects so many things other than just like I was having nerve pain, but also I'm a nervous person, like kind of a neurotic person, and sometimes those symptoms can affect your stomach and like physical sensations in your body. So being very suddenly having your nervous system be regulated, it's nice, felt good. If so, just a thought. If anyone out there is having any sort of nervous system issues or pains or whatever, you might talk to your doctor about Cymbalta. That being said, cautionary tale. Um, the ACA the ACA subsidies were slashed or otherwise. Honestly, I don't have the details right in front of me on a screen. I can look it up right now, I guess. But the ACA subsidies were meaningfully demolished, I don't know, destroyed by Republicans early in the year, or I guess actually partially by liberal incompetence as well, but regardless. Um, when the ACA subsidies got slashed, my insurance went from that previous 12 cents a month to $100 a month, meaning that I could not, pay the whole year in advance and just comfortably have insurance and not worry about it. That it was highly reliant on my income. Uh, yeah, and there was also the option for Medicaid, but it was much less inclusive and much more complicated and much more, it was, look, I'm a normal person. I have an insurance guy. I go to the guy, I tell him what I need, what I make, etc., and he does the gritty work, and I end up leaving with valid insurance. So when it comes to, you can have this one where at least it's like a fixed set thing, or you can have this one which is extremely up in the air. It won't cover nearly as much things, more than likely. Uh, it's just a worse system. It's like, okay, well, I'll just take the one that's a little more risky, I guess. Okay. Then, so that mean my insurance went from 12 cents a month to $100 a month, making it vastly more difficult to just keep insurance and keep my meds and keep going to therapy and all that shit. Okay, so then I worked at the Quality Inn for several years. I was fired by a bastard, so I stole this shirt or kept the shirt. I didn't steal anything. I already had it. You can fight me in small claims court if you want it. uh, so I get fired from the Quality Inn by a manager I really don't care for. The owner, actually, of my local Quality Inn franchise. Won't say any names, but just do the math there. Um, and then I managed to land a job serving at a local Mexican restaurant that I won't name. And, I'll say this, serving has its challenges. It's ass busting work. You will run, run, run. Your job is to keep on moving and keep on smiling. It can be hard. But I came to enjoy it. And I was working at a Mexican restaurant, so I was like starting to learn basic Spanish as well. I would call it like restaurant Spanish. But I wanted to learn more. I even thought it would be cool maybe to eventually step up and kind of be like, like help do like kitchen, like manage. I would have ideally liked to learn enough Spanish to actually help interface with the front and back of the house, speaking bilingually. Um, I liked my job. I also worked with my girlfriend. My girlfriend's rad. Definitely made my job easier. But then one night, this very frustrating situation unfolded, which was that it's a very, very hard shift. It was only three of us, and we had, been running like hell. And you don't like the feeling of that, but you at least accept that I'm probably gonna make decent money, so you just go whatever, and you just keep moving until you're done. But we were, all a little like, ugh. At the end of the night, you're worn out, your fucking feet hurt. And then we all kind of head to the back to wrap up, cash out, head out, and they're like, the drawer is $150 under, and I'm just like, okay, that, figure it out. Like, I don't know. And so then, of course, there's three of us. We all turn our pockets. I literally, and it's on camera. You can see me take all the money I have out of my apron and just kind of dump it there in front of me, being like, "This is what I made tonight." And then the reality of it was that if the three of us had said, "Ah, that's the way she goes," then what would have happened is they would have taken $50 from each of us and said, "Nah, that's the rules," and we just move on with our days and lives because whatever they say goes, and um, you knew those were the rules before you started this job that whenever the drawer's under, we all split it. But and that's like fine, and it had happened a couple times throughout me being there over like the 5 months I was there. I never ever complained or really threw a fit or had any issue when they were like, "Up, the drawer's $3 under." It's like, "Ah, shoot, okay, well here's a buck." Up, the drawer was $5 under. Oh shoot, well here's $2. Like that didn't really phase me. But that night in particular was a night where we had run, 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 and had a very hard night, and I had done okay, but really not that good, all things considered. I had like $50 in my pocket, and or a little more, but basically what it came down to was what you're asking me for. What you're saying to me is that For reasons I have no fucking understanding of, the drawer is under. At least that's what you're saying. I have no way of verifying that. I'm not the one that counts the drawer even. So you're telling me the drawer is under. I am to take that as fact. Fine. But now everyone owes $50, apparently. Once again, just because you say so. Like I'm not trying to be an asshole, but it's like all I can do is take your word for it. So basically, if you ever just said so, you could say, "Up, you owe me $50," and I would have to go, "Up, that's the way it is." Shit, that's them's the breaks. I'm on the bottom of the totem pole. You're a capitalist, and I'm a fucking pawn of yours. So I just do what you say, right? Um, but on this particular night, what was happening was that due to some sort of clerical error beyond my understanding, I was supposed to give over my night's wages as if my work meant nothing. Like as if I had been here for 6 hours, busting my ass and running full speed to make sure your Mexican restaurant can stay afloat, even though you manage it very mediocrely. Um, and then somehow at the end of the night, the books is wrong, once again for reasons out of my fucking understanding. And now suddenly I owe you my night's wages because of a sentence you said to me, not because of any proof you presented to me, not because of any legitimate case you're making that we should owe you this money. Just simply the fact is like this system is saying it's under, and now you all owe me $50. So I don't think I said no specifically, but I was visibly annoyed by it because I'm like, what's the fucking point of my labor if at any point you can turn around and just ask for it back. Like, I don't even know if that's legal, honestly, but that's besides the point. Um, I'm not a lawyer. Okay. So they ended up saying, you know what, we'll figure it out. We'll it'll come out in the wash. Give us a couple days. By Monday, we'll have made a decision. And if we find out that someone did take this, then that person's going to be fired. Okay, well then that was like Friday or Saturday. Sunday happens. Busy, busy Sunday. Run, run, run. No word, no mention. Okay, then Monday comes, and once again, no word, no mention. And then I think realistically, like a week or two goes by, no word, no mention, no problem. Us just kind of being like, maybe it was a system error that they decided to really threaten our livelihood about. So, but nothing happened, nothing came of it. It was very strange because they had almost been sort of like, ooh, someone's gonna get punished once we figure out who did it. As if, I don't know, as if one of us would have really stole $150, only to then have to give $50 back because of the policy and get away with $100, but not without fucking over your two other coworkers because they would both owe $50. You all owe $50. You get away with $100. And I also want to point out that my girlfriend was one of the people on shift that night. So the idea that I would have happily stolen $50 from her to make $100 and to have all this stress and like accusation and whatever, it just really doesn't make sense to me. But anyways, moving on. So like a week or two goes by, nothing comes of it, and it seems like, maybe they figured it out. Maybe they just started just so shitty at management, or something that it's just something that they were embarrassed to even talk about or something. Okay, but then I go into work one day, and right as I get there, oh, can we have a talk real quick? And so I go and sit down and talk to who is my manager, my direct manager, and also her mother, who is like I'm trying to. I don't want to say their names, so we're gonna say Lisa and Sarah. Okay, so Lisa is my manager, and Lisa is a pretty cool person from my current experiences. Actually, ironically, when I interviewed for the job, um, she was very cool. Her mother, Sarah, is the name we're gonna use. Sarah was very confrontational and like coming at the whole thing from like a very like business woman's perspective, and was like, don't you ever steal, the house always wins. Like a very like, it took the interview from being this casual chill thing between me and Lisa, to being this very like confrontational, on edge, very defensive thing. So I had like a two-part interview, and that ironically ended up exemplifying, I think, or being a good example of the actual dynamic of the relationship of this mother-daughter restaurant ownership thing, which is that Lisa um, is the owner who, sorry, the manager, owner, manager, co-owner, whatever. They're all family. They all own it. I don't know. Who I deal with regularly, who works with me, who does what I do, who I see working hard, who when we're having a hard time, she is like, me too, brother. I get it. So like working woman, like someone I can respect, and someone who, over 5 or 6 months come to know me pretty well, know my values, my views, my world. We many a laugh, many a joke, many a good day shared, whatever, between me and Lisa. Um, Sarah, however, when Sarah, her mother, would come in at any given time and just be in the restaurant temporarily, it's like she'd be in the way. She's not a real worker. She has no understanding of what the work actually entails. So it's often she would try to help, and in that sense, she would just be in your way. It's like she would try to help, but then you'd have to explain to her what to do, or um, or she would go to run your food and would be doing it wrong, or just stepping on your toes and just generally in the way and not very helpful and not very understanding because Sarah, her mother, is like a true blue capitalist. Like her values are in this space of like, I own this business, I am head bitch, I have the money, you are below me. We don't have a much of an understanding, you and I, because we're not of a similar worldview or class position. My role in the world is that I point and people do what I say. Your role in the world is that you're a little bitch that does what I say. So we don't have an understanding, you and I, culturally and our values. Don't like Sarah. Not a real name, but we're gonna call her Sarah. Um, to then jump back to the forward to the not current day, but now like 3 or 4 months ago. Um, 3 months ago, I think. Uh, Lisa and Sarah sit me down. Lisa, my manager, person I work with all the time, person I actually consider to be my manager, my actual co-worker and my authority figure who I have respect for, says basically nothing. Sarah, yeah, her mother, who is not my manager, who does not actually work at the restaurant, whose only real true affiliation with me, as a fellow employee, is the fact that she is Lisa's mother and technically has some sort of capitalist, like, vestment in this company alongside her daughter, and as a result of that, gets authoritative decisions, authoritative privileges, can come in and have a drink at the bar and then pour that into a to-go cup and drive away with it because laws don't apply to rich people. And if they did, they just pay the fine anyway, so who gives a fuck? And I just don't like this lady. So then we have this meeting. It's been like 2 weeks since they were like, which one of you took the money? And they didn't come up, they didn't actually figure that out and never addressed it another time afterwards. Sit me down and say, so on that day, and I remember this, I'll tell you, but on that day, you took a big table that would have, it came to about 140 or something. And what do you have to say? What do you remember about that? And I was like, okay, I'm gonna just my memory of this. If I'm not mistaken, I even like looked to Lisa and said, "Hey, does this sound correct? If I'm not mistaken, I'm not trying to point the finger at anyone." That day, I came in. I was there for about 10 seconds. My coworker, we'll call her Brenda. Brenda says to me, "Hey, there's a 10 top coming in like 10, no, like 20 top. Yeah, like 20 people coming in like 10 minutes. I think it was like 20. Yeah, I don't want to misremember, so I'm going to say a number between 12 and 20. It was a large party, but I'd been there a while. I felt comfortable doing it, no problem. So about it's like a second I walked into work that day, Brenda says to me, "Hey, there's going to be like 20 people in here in like 10 minutes. I'm going to give it to you because I'm still training our new girl. Her new girl was my girlfriend." And so I was like, "Oh, no, no worries. I'll take it." And so I basically kind of get there and immediately get my head ready for that. Okay. Then I take one table up front, but then the big party comes in, so I go to the back, start taking them. My manager slash coworker, my coworker who was the manager on duty that day, Brenda, goes and takes my front table so that I can shift to my back table. And then once I get my back table kind of fed, served, drinks, all good, whatever, Brenda then does me a solid and sort of takes over the ending of that table. Like I then shift back to the front. We're very busy at this point. Like we're very busy, and I'm being torn between like large groups, and I'm a I'm a more capable worker, so I needed to come back to the front and help with the rest of the rush. So Brenda, my coworker, not a real name, Brenda goes and does me a solid. I did not think anything of it. Goes and checks them out for me because at this particular restaurant, I don't know how other restaurants do things, but it's like every step is a thing that any one of us could do. Like, like I could take your order, like, and then say, this is actually your table and put it in your name and give that to you. I can do my whole order and say, hey, do you have a second to check them out? And you can go check them out for me. Like this, we would do that collaborative give and take thing sometimes. So Brenda, my coworker, who was sort of our stand-in manager that day, was doing me a solid, and she was checking out that big table for me so I could move on to other tables. I had already done the majority of the work of like getting their orders and getting them served and running their food and blah blah blah. All it needed to happen was they needed to pay and cash out and check out so they could leave and we can clean up. I'm over explaining this because it's very frustrating to me, I think. Point is, okay, out of big table. Brenda checks them out for me. Thank you, Brenda. I go back to my work. Okay, moving on. Didn't think anything of it. Then 2 weeks later, 3 weeks later, however long it was after that day that whole thing happened and the whole situation blew up and whatever, I'm being accused to my face. What do you have to say about it? Did you steal the money? And I'm like, two things. One, if I'm not mistaken, I didn't even check that table out. I'm not trying to point the finger at anyone, but that's my memory of it. Is that correct? Does that sound correct? I think they didn't really. They were like, well, I don't know. Okay, fine. And they said basically what it come down to. I'm just going to sum it up for you. What it come down to is that they said, well, we don't see on camera where you we don't see you putting the money in the register. We like this $140 whatever. We do not see on video you taking that amount and putting it in the register. And I'm like, right, I didn't ever have it, so I couldn't have put it in the register. If I'm not mistaken, I didn't even check them out, so I wouldn't have ever had that money in my hand. Like, nor would I have even taken their card and taken the payment for it. You know what I'm saying? Like, so what it came down to is I said, okay, great. So what you're saying basically is that I'm either too stupid to like handle money. Like if you put 150 bucks in my hand and I work at a restaurant and I know that my job, my livelihood, and everything is dependent on me taking your money and putting it in the register, that my dumb ass just goes, oh, I don't know where it went. That's one option. The other option, the one that is more cynical, the one that it seems like you're progressing, is that I stole it, and that is funny to me because I make more in a week, I make more in a paycheck, I make more in a day than I would by stealing from you and my girlfriend and Brenda all at once to make away with $100 while we all get fucked. Like that doesn't make any sense. Also, knowing full well that we're gonna review the cameras and like eventually find out, you know, it's just always with this kind of logic when people decide, you know what, I've decided that it's you and you did this and I don't care what you say. Um, it's this thing where it's like it doesn't actually even make sense if you just think it through. Like if you sit down with me and we talk about it and I tell you why I wouldn't even do that and how the fact that there actually isn't evidence of me ever doing it on camera because it's not a thing that happened. Like you can make the claim that there's no evidence, there's no like video evidence of me putting it in the drawer, but that's because it didn't ever happen. I've gotten way off topic. The point is, I was fired from my job that I liked. Very frustrating. Also, being fired for a thing you're being told you did when you definitely didn't do is very frustrating. Because it's like, oh, well, I fucking didn't, but I guess I'm gonna be punished like I did. So it kind of makes me wish I stole from you. Like, ironically, I did then keep my much like this quality end shirt. If a capitalist fucks me over, I may just keep the merch. If you want your shirts back, come get them. Go to small claims court. You stole from me my security and well-being when you very suddenly and without actually having a legitimate conversation with me disrupted my cash flow. You took away my stability and livelihood because I don't know, you have to have a fall guy or something. I'm not sure what the motivation of that is. So, get fired from the restaurant that I like to work at, mostly by cunt face Sarah, less so by Lisa, my manager, but also making me lose an insane amount of respect for my manager because it's like you just sat there and watched it happen and did nothing and didn't said nothing because you're a fucking coward, I guess. Doesn't really matter if you're like a chill person when it comes down to it, you're a fucking coward that sits there and watches people you worked with for months just get fucked over and you have nothing to say for it. Um, hmm, yeah, weak-willed, soft little bitch actions there. Okay, then the mother is, like a a capitalist, um, removed from society, business owner. Like I don't have anything against people that own businesses. I don't have anything against people that have money. It's just that I've seen so many examples. I'm not making any kind of like broad sweeping claim about anyone. Like people will always surprise you. Generalizing will always make you wrong. Assumptions will always, make an ass out of you and me. But the reality is, I've seen with my own eyes so many examples of people who are business owners or capitalists, as in people who, take, um, people that invest capital and turn it into more capital and employ people and own businesses. And it's not like doing those things in and of themselves is immoral. It's that if you get to a place where in your mind and in your like hierarchy of like values and priorities, the bottom line, the number one thing that's most important is money, 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 um, you will make choices, many choices, tons probably of choices that are not actually uh, to the benefit of the people that you sort of like are supposed to be helping or employing or whatever. Like you are in a position of power over them, and because of that, rather than gaining some sort of like profound empathy for them, you slowly slip away from your humanity, getting yourself more and more comfortable with making the kinds of decisions that harm people because you have to, because you're a business owner. I understand there's like a give and take there. It's like, well, it's just business. Yeah, when it's just business, you will do violence. And violence can be like, a lot of different things, but like I do think personally, like a socialist value of mine is that like, you know, harming people's livelihood with no regard for, how they're going to pay their fucking bills or feed themselves is a form of violence. The same way that like denying someone's health insurance claim that's inevitably going to have them die of cancer or whatever is a form of violence. And being a landlord who turns around and evicts a tenant of years is a form of violence. Unless you could always argue that, well, there's things that they could do to, yeah, sure. I'm not saying tenants can never evict anyone. I'm not saying cops can never arrest anyone. I'm not saying managers can never fire anyone. I'm not saying any of that. I'm saying that when you occupy a position of authority and power over people, when you manage capital and you get to where your priorities in your life and then the choices you make, the decisions you make are based more on generating capital, than actually helping or anyone, including your employees, um, then yeah, I think that that really does start to harm your humanity, and I think it does start to influence the kinds of decisions you make and the kinds of ways you treat people, because basically in your mind, people are, uh, not all people. I'm not saying you're a fucking sociopath. I'm just saying you're able to do a lot of mental mathematics to dehumanize people so that you can do harm to them, make choices and decisions that affect their lives greatly, with little remorse because it's just business. And that is a fundamental opposition to my values in life. Um, I just don't actually think that money is better than people. And if anything, people make the money. Like the money doesn't come, like we don't grow the money on trees, you know? Um, People make it. People make products. People harvest things. People do services. People make the fucking world go around, the economy, the whole world. It's not built by billionaires. It's not built by fucking capitalists. It's supplied by workers. Elon Musk puts a bajillion dollars down, forms a massive multi-billion dollar company, becomes a trillionaire. Is that because he works the hardest? No. It's because like circumstance. Maybe he's a smart guy. I don't know. I just don't actually believe like that's meritocracy, the idea that like, well, he's doing really good, so he must just be like a really good and smart great guy that deserves it and earned it. And it's like, statistically, historically, that is not how that works. People don't become trillionaires out of just like fiscal conservatism. You know, it's not like a real thing. You can't like um, make coffee at home your way to being a fucking trillionaire or whatever. You can't just be like really responsible and suddenly become a trillionaire. What you can do is inherent money. You know, it's probably the easiest way. Other ways, the most like the reality is if you've become a billionaire, you have exploited someone. You know, you could say, well, duh, who cares? I mean, that's fine. I'm not saying like, you know, work is a form of exploitation. It says, I'm Mr. Elon Musk. I have a trillion bajillion dollars. The thing you're going to provide for me, the product, the service, whatever, Tesla employee or whatever the fuck, SpaceX engineer, the thing you're going to do, the hard work, the work, the science that's going to actually potentially make a difference in the world, progress society, advance science, you know, whatever the fuck your goal is in this world, um, is going to be done by like hundreds, thousands of like people lower on the totem pole than you. Elon Musk, you're not doing the work of a million men, you know, you just have a bajillion dollars. That's not the same thing. I personally am of the belief that like for every you like every service worker is infinitely more valuable than an Elon Musk because they pour your coffee and they listen to your what your day how your day is and they do the hard work to make sure that your life's just a little bit better and they're like a fucking person like and they like they affect their community, they make their community better, like you know like they the hard work they do actually can be felt and measured and you know, I mean, do you, I don't know, if have you ever gone to any business in your whole fucking life and gone, I love that person, and they just kind of made your day a little bit better? Yeah, Elon Musk's never done that for you ever and never will. If anything, he's more likely to build like a robot that shoots you in the face. So it's just that that's a the values like hierarchy kind of thing for me, where it's like I do not value having money or accreditation or um, esteem or whatever more than just being a good fucking person that tries to make the world a better place. And so I think that most service workers have done more for that than Elon Musk ever will. For instance, it doesn't have to be Elon Musk. It could be any other bastard, Jeff Bezos, for instance. But yeah, it's just okay. I've gone on a whole long anti-capitalist rant, and I will now bring it in. So, um, when the ACA subsidies lapsed and my insurance rise by like 1,000% or some shit. I don't even know that that's maybe more than that. It goes from 12 cents to $100. It's like 1,000%, I think. No, I'm not a math guy. Someone else do the math. Too much. Rents, the insurance is too damn high. Firstly. Secondly, then I lose the job I actually liked. And also, subsequently, the will to keep wasting my fucking time. Um, Being beaten up and exploited by capitalists, only to have them turn around and go, "Oh, fuck you anyways." Like, you know, you weren't like you weren't quite enough of like a little smiling cuck about it the whole time. So, you know, that's just the nature of this system is that we punish you for uh having a shred of respect for yourself, basically. And I go, cool, yeah, I don't value that. I don't believe in that. Um, and I'm like, what have I been doing all this time? Like all this time I've been like doing this thing I think a lot of people do because what else do you do? Which is like I want to make my life better. I want more from the world. Well, to do that I need like a bunch of money. Um, Without a bunch of money, I am, you know, you could find a long list of terrible adjectives, a bum, a fucking lazy piece of shit, a fucking whatever. Um, Fucking social parasite or whatever the fuck you want to call it. But I think that that's all a lie. Like the more I think about it, that's the lie. Like like you see that there's other videos on YouTube. You'll see. I'm not going to be the first person to say this thing. I'm not saying anything groundbreaking here, but like laziness is a lie. Like bad work ethic is kind of a lie. I mean, obviously, if you need something done and someone's being a bitch about it the whole time, it's not very productive. But I think the reality is most people have a bad work ethic or are lazy because, or what we're calling those things, what action we're assigning to those terms is they don't do a very good job at spending a lot of their time doing labor that has absolutely nothing to fucking do with their quality of life, their community, um, the security, the foundation of their homestead. Like none of the work they're doing, all the thousands of hours of backbusting labor, is not benefiting them at all. Like almost, like the only benefit is that they get a paycheck. And because they live in this society where we say, well, money, money, money is the best thing you can have. The only way to be a better, more successful, more valuable person is to accrue as much money as possible. Until you have $1 billion, your life will be terrible. And as long as you don't have $1 billion, you will be a little bitch. And as long as you are not working to gain $1 billion, you are a lazy little bitch. And so it's like, I don't know. I guess when I think about like what I actually value in life, it's like, like none of those things have anything to do with what the fuck I value in life. It's like I've been told what to value. I've been told what is a a productive use of my time. That the only really good way to spend the majority of my time is to be at a fucking business or corporation, working for someone, doing something that has nothing to fucking do with what I find interesting in the world, or um, not helping me towards a career path, not helping me find a better sense of self, not really truly providing a sense of like genuine security. I'm reliant on the government teat of a steady fucking income. People will say that like non-working people are lazy and whatever, but it's like you are a slave of the system. So you will look at someone like me and say, well, you should want to work, and if you don't, you should kill yourself, basically. Um, and I would say that that makes no sense. Like you were born to want to work, and what is work? I mean, working like if I say go get a job, like what do I mean? Like what does that mean? Do I mean go start a business that you find fulfilling? Like do I mean like yeah, that's not what I mean, right? I mean, like, go look on a job listing board, go on Indeed, go poke around at local restaurants that have now hiring signs, um, until one of them says, "All right, I value you enough to like want to contribute to your well-being," or rather, sorry, that's not even true. You have enough of the skills that align with someone that we can exploit and pay very little. And that's what we're looking for here at Taco Bell or like Walmart or whatever. Um, yeah. So, point is, I don't think jobs like positions in the business hierarchy, the ladder that goes from you're nothing to you're king of the world. I don't think that's real. Now I also understand we live in a capitalist society, so all these things I'm saying is like, oh, it's all fucking very nice and fairy tales and shit and like cool, like communist propaganda. Good luck with that in America. But I don't know. I think that people are like coming around to this idea. I think that people are like realizing that that's not real. Like that it doesn't make you a worse person to not want to slave away and get almost nothing out of it. And then all that time you are spending away, like, I don't, let's say most people work 5 days a week, 8-hour shifts. That's like an average, stand, 9 to 5 or whatever. Like, different stuff. People work at Walmart overnight, people work in serving for 6 hours, different stuff. But let's average it out. Roughly, people try to work full time, and full time looks something like 8 hours a day, 5 days a week. So that means the 2 days are yours and only yours. Um, Except that at least one of the days you're going to be spending that resting from the 5 days you just worked. Um, so I don't know if most people I know don't feel that that one first day off is actually like a day off, like truly a day that is available to you and your passions and your interests alone. That's not real. You spend all week doing shit you don't want to do. And also, depending on your job, maybe you have a very leisurely job, maybe you don't have to output much physical labor, but most people are not doing what they actually want to do, and they're working hard and they're like hurting themselves to do it, and then they're not really being their lives are not being made better. The majority of the time they're spending in their like alive is at work, because 5 days of your week is at work. You only get 2 days off, like yeah. I mean, sure, only 8 hours of any given work day is dedicated to work, but that's bullshit anyways, because you have to sleep to you have to get enough rest to work. So let's say you work for 8 hours and you sleep for 8 hours. That's already that's more than half your day is gone. Okay, and then okay, but fine, okay, but then you get 8 hours to it yourself, and it's like that's not even true because okay, don't you have to make fucking food at some point? So there's a number of like chores you must acquire like perform to actually like maintenance your day and like live your fucking day, right? And so like depending on how far you live from your job, maybe you need to commute there. Does it take you 5 minutes, 2 minutes, or 30 minutes, or an hour? Like, so how long of your fucking day is spent driving to your job? How much money is that to get there? How much time is it? Um, you get there, you're there for 8 hours, maybe longer. Like maybe they just keep you longer because things happen sometimes. Whoa. So you're really not in control of like how long you're there necessarily. Some jobs are more rigid about. I worked at rigid about that thing. I worked at Walmart, and Walmart was like, once it hits 11, get the fuck off the clock, because it's very corporate, and there's like a lot of like Walmart's been around long enough. There's certain like union rights and stuff that's like baked into it. So yeah, they're very much like we need you off. We don't want to pay you overtime. We don't want to get into any weird shit. Just get off the fucking clock. You've been here all day. Go. So every places are different. But then when I worked like in serving, like local restaurants, the one I just worked at, not the one I have a whole story about, but a different one that I'm not even really gonna get into about it. I worked there for like a week and was like, I can't do this anymore. But regardless, I worked there, and I forgot what I was saying. I'm very good about that. I want to move on to a whole different topic, which is that so after getting fired and then getting another job and then kind of just losing it and not being able to tolerate this bullshit waste of my life and time anymore, feeling like I could put the time into anything more meaningful and relevant. And luckily, I'm in a position where I can get a little bit of help from my family, and I don't feel completely at the whim of this. Like I feel like I have a little bit of wiggle room. Not everyone will even have that, so not everyone will even have the ability to do what I'm saying. I think if you have no ability to get out of your dead end job, then you should spend your free time trying to work towards something else, or try to save up enough money to like free yourself of the whole thing. But regardless, so for me, I was able to quit that job. I'd already been fired in the first place. I luckily got another job within like a week or two, and it seemed like a good opportunity. And I just honestly, it was more of the same, and it was actually worse. It was like a little bit worse, um, and I just couldn't. I was like, what the fuck is the point? I feel like I'm wasting my life. I feel like I'm watching my time slip by me. I feel like I could die any fucking day now. God forbid our government, gets us into World War III or some shit, or fucking does a draft, and it's like, what the fuck am I doing with my time? Uh, I don't know. I just felt like I was lying to myself, and I think until I was fired from the job I actually really liked, I wouldn't have even been willing to consider it that way. Sometimes you go through different phases in your mind of like what it is that's real to you, like what your values are, what you're willing to put your time into. And so for some amount of time it was like, well, that's what it is, man. You're not going to be able to do anything you want to do in life until you accrue a bunch of money. So that felt like the most important use of my time was like, whatever it is you want to do in the world, it is hampered greatly by your lack of funding. I just think the funny thing about that, and the more I think about it, and now I compare the two things. Like before, I felt like you can't do anything you want to do, you don't have enough money. I mean, that's still true. I definitely hit my head on that a lot right now. I'll actually get to that in a second. That's kind of the point of this whole topic. But the point is, when you compare, it's like, okay, you're not going to have enough money for all the things you like need. You may have to grind and get creative and like look at different ways to approach that, or you're not going to have time to do anything you want to do. This goes back to my values. Like, I don't actually value money over life. Um, I can tell you that when I'm at work, I can't go do meaningful things with my girlfriend. I can't write down my thoughts. I can't um, do research to try to learn more. I can't try to pursue education. I can't make content. I can't expand my fucking skill sets at all. I can't make art. I can't do anything. I have to be there doing what I'm told to do for however long they say. And it's often not even, it's often longer than they even say. You know, they'll tell you it's gonna be this long, and really it's like you stay until we tell you to leave. And then you just realize that like you're not in control of any of this. You're not in control of when you get there. You're only in so much control of what days you work. I mean, you can say what you want to work, and there's also going to be an element of like, well, this is what we have for you. So you barely have control over when you're there. You barely have control over when you get there. You barely have control over when you leave because you leave when they say you leave. You barely have control over how much money you make. It's kind of in serving at least. It's kind of random. Granted, you will usually make more than you would have doing the other work, and then it's also like that's bullshit too, because like what, the people that are like slinging the pizzas don't deserve the tips because we're the ones smiling at people and being verbally harassed. It's like, aren't they not the ones doing the majority of the labor? um so it's just all terribly balanced, just all a bad system. I'm not saying making people pizza or Mexican food is a bad system. I'm not saying that there's not a right way to do it. I'm just saying that like at the end of the day, this system is not designed to make anyone's life better. I mean, you could argue that the system's designed to make the customer's life better because they're able to show up to a place and get what they want and have a good time. But I mean, if we're being completely honest with you, the reality is that this system's designed to exploit the customer of their money. Um, a lot of times, like the concept of upselling, or even just sales in general, is that you don't want what you think you want. You want even more. And it's my job to make you see that. Um, your belief that you came in here for a specific thing and that's all you wanted, and that you're very fiscally responsible and that you had a whole plan, is irrelevant because I am a salesman and my job is I'm like a little mosquito of the corporate body. I'm here to extract every last fucking drop out of you. You already committed to coming here and giving this company money, but that's not enough. It's not enough unless we get you to spend well above what is the actual like expected, you know, spending. It's not good enough for you to just get your fucking pizza or whatever. I need to sell you an appetizer. I need to sell you an alcoholic beverage. I need to sell you two. Now you're drunk and loosey goosey. Maybe I can sell you more shit. Um, it's another piece of the capitalist machine built to extract, exploit. And you could say, well, that's very cynical. And I'd say, yeah, that's probably true. I mean, I wouldn't feel this way about like a small business. Um, a small business is just trying to get by. A small business is allowed to upsell to you. You know what you're getting into. This is not a franchise. You could argue that's manipulation because then you're like, well, I care about them and I care about their livelihood. Good. Like, you should. Like, you should fund small business and not give infinite money to chains. Like, that's just, once again, my values. I would much rather you go to a fucking hole in the wall, give them every last goddamn dollar you have, than let a corporation send a cute girl over to your table so that she can manipulate and exploit every last dollar you have. Because at the end of the day, one of those, even if it's the same amount of money, one of those goes to, at least in percentage, goes to a corporation and a franchise, to make someone richer. Only so much of it goes to the pretty girl that you were swooned by. And if you go to the small business and do the same things, give that same amount of money, that goes in some fucking guy's pocket. I mean, yeah, he'll have to pay some business taxes or whatever, but he was gonna have to do that anyways. So, it's just, once again, it's just like, if like for me, it's just very obvious. If I draw a through line, it's like, yeah, I do not value capitalism over people's livelihoods. I do not value money over people's lives. I do not think that money is worth more than anyone's life. I mean, and that is consistent for me across the board. Like, it's not like It doesn't just stop at healthcare. It doesn't just stop at like workers' rights or whatever. It's like a full-hearted belief that like if ever you're making a decision and the decision goes dollars and someone is harmed and that's just the cost of it, right? That's just the cost of business, baby. I don't believe in that. I think that's garbage. I think that people do business. People pay businesses. People make products. People deliver services. People deliver goods. People provide. People fucking make the world happen. Make the world better. Doctors are people that make children live longer. Like businesses are people deciding to provide a service. It's just this thing. I don't I cannot look and unironically say, yeah, fuck them, dollars. I don't believe in that. I think that we've all been lied to. I have another point I want to get at in a second, kind of wrap this up maybe to a close for my first stream, but I am going to take a quick break, and I don't know a really great way to do that besides just this. BRB. I need to make like a AFK sign kind of thing. Okay, we are back to kind of wrap this up. How long have I been streaming? Oh, just to ignore my terrible delay there as it connects to my phone again because I use my phone as a webcam because I am practical. I want to finish this up by saying, also, I just want to see, how do I like look and see how long has this stream been going? Jesus goodness. Uh, let me see. I will, instead of narrating what I'm doing, I'll say what I've been trying to say, which is that I already went over this. I'm going to do a quick synopsis, summary, get to the point, explain what I was trying to say in the first place. Okay. ACA subsidies fuck me over. I end up having to pay much more for my insurance. Okay. Then I keep getting distracted. Okay. ACA subsidies fucked me over. I ended up paying a lot more for my insurance. Then get fired from my job that I actually liked. Uh, Big disruption to my whole life, and also just the way I feel about things. It really changed the way the way I feel about like investing time into something only to have a fucking capitalist turn around and go, I don't give a shit about your time or your effort. Go fuck yourself. Um, yeah, really dehumanizing, it's bad for morale for sure. And then I go to a different job, get one, and then realize I don't want to do this anymore. That I've been wasting my time. That I feel like I've been I feel like I've been stuck in the lie that everyone else is. I mean, I can't blame them. I don't blame myself. I mean, I think if you just eat what people are feeding you, then your belief is simply this: go work, work till you die, save, 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 don't enjoy your life. Uh, People who deserve to enjoy their life are people who have done some sort of, labor or business for 50 fucking years or so. Then they can enjoy their life. And it's like, oh no, what a terrible system. I don't agree with that at all. I think that if anything, you should enjoy your life while you're young. I think that you should look for ways to mix it up. When they tell you you must go get a job at blah 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 and just stay there and do that or whatever, grind up the corporate ladder, ignore that shit. Do something else. Unless that's what you want to do, then do it. Like you should do what you want to do in this life. You should exercise your free will. Um, but I just, yeah, I don't know. It's very eye opening and awakening for me to have them be like, and we don't give a fuck even when you do try and care. We don't give a fuck. We still just fuck you over regardless. I go, oh, okay. All right. Well, then I don't think I care anymore. Yeah. So, point is, now I go to my pharmacy like last month, and I am like, hey, I am about to lose my insurance, but could I get my like meds refilled real quick? At least I'll have like a month's left of meds, and then I'll lose my insurance because I don't have money anymore. Um, and they were like, sure, and they filled them, and I went up there to get them. I honestly, to be totally honest with you, I don't fucking know why. I don't know exactly what the exact reasoning was. It was very demoralizing, and I just was like, okay. But when I walked in there and said, hey, can I get these meds? They said, okay, that'll be $50. And I said, these are usually free. Is that with my insurance on there? Or, and she's like, yeah, it looks like your insurance is on there. And it looks like, yeah, that's correct. It's like went up by blah, 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 blah. And I went, okay, cool. Well, these are typically free. I wasn't expecting them to be $50, so I guess that's just not for me. And I left. And granted, somewhat impulsive, somewhat irresponsible. I didn't even ask her to like break them down by price to see which one cost what. Like it may have been one of them was $46, or something. I don't know. What I do know is that I have been feeling for a while now, years really. Um, I've been on and off different medications for years. I've been in therapy and counseling, psychiatry, different phases for years. I'm not opposed to any of that stuff. I think it's all really helpful potentially. And if you have a serious mental disorder, mental health disorder, um, especially ones that like where like psychosis is a frequent like I think stay on your antipsychotics. I really do believe that. I've had relationships with people that were psychotic, and it's just no fun for anyone involved. You're more likely to like destroy yourself or kill someone or yourself than you are to like live a free life with free will. So I'm not pro get off all your meds. Um, but I just felt like for so many years I've been put on various flurries, cocktails of meds, them trying to figure out what the fuck is wrong with me. Never really kind of putting like a really clear label on it and being like this is what your deal is and this is what we should treat it with. Like I understand that people are like doctors are just people and that they're just trying stuff, seeing what works. They're not it's not like they're being cynical or malicious when they accidentally waste your time and don't I wouldn't say that they make your mental health worse, like technically, literally, but I will say that when you go for the millionth time to a psychiatrist and try to explain how you feel and try to see if you can get closer to like a real solution to it and you just feel like you're stuck because I don't know they just I guess they feel powerless in some ways, or they have their own personal convictions, or unwilling to help treat people in certain way. I just find that I don't fucking get anywhere with it. And then the problem I had was that I was on all these medications, and it's like the time that passes between you getting on your medications and then like when you finally take a second months later to go, okay, my levels are up. What do I feel? It's very difficult to even like clearly tell if you feel better or worse, like or different at all. You've been this way for so long now. Months is not like the longest time ever, but like, 4 or 5 months go by, and it's like, well, how do you think the medicines are helping? I don't fucking know. I feel the way I feel on any given day. I can't like perfectly compare it. I guess maybe you should record yourself with and without meds. I'm not sure how you are supposed to. It's just difficult. Like I said, only thing I can say for sure is that if you're on like antipsychotics, stay on them because psychosis is no fucking joke. And there's other medications that are obviously the same way. Like stay on your fucking blood pressure meds, stay on your fucking all your medications that keep you healthy and sane and shit. But when you get into the like the more nuanced stuff, like diagnosing and treating like ADHD, depression, anxiety, BPD, things like that. I think BPD, like I don't even remember if you can take meds that'll really help with things like that. I'm not 100% sure. Point is, like, when you try to go in and like get some more like nuanced like diagnosis and treatment, and really try to like like fix these problems, months and months and months go by and it becomes very difficult to tell what the fuck is even doing anything unless that pill has a very set effect. So for instance, like Cymbalta helped with my nerves. I kind of noticed it do that when I started taking it. As it was the first one I started on this recent round of meds, so like I was able to go, the Cymbalta feels this way. And then a little while later, I added some more antidepressants. I was on bupropion and buspirone. I couldn't tell you if those two do a fucking thing. Those were the main ones that I argued with my psychiatrist for months about, being like, I'm not sure these are doing anything. You got anything stronger, doc? You got anything that'll make me feel like a fucking person? And no offense to my psychiatrist at the time, she just was like feeling that the more intense drugs that maybe could help me more were a bad idea, and that we were like very limited in what we were able to do, which is fine, and I get it. Like I get like trying to keep me off benzos for my own safety. But I don't really get like cycling through a handful of like very mediocre medications that aren't getting anywhere and aren't doing anything, and like being unwilling to like take a new approach with things. I found that very frustrating, and it's yet another way where even though I'm here a consumer, I have insurance, I'm here trying to get help, the system's just really not, it's not genuinely designed to just like help me feel better and be more functional. It's like maybe designed to keep me as a patient and keep extracting wealth. I'm not trying to be cynical. I'm not saying my psychiatrist didn't care about me. I'm just saying that it just does not seem like I have anecdotally, in my anecdotal experience, I do not feel that over the many years I've tried to seek help for depression and anxiety, I've had very different levels of response to it. I've had completely different medications. I've been put on at this point probably 12 different medications throughout my life. If I just had to ballpark guess a number, because I had kind of three different phases, starting when I was like 13 or 14, um, revisiting, get off my meds at some point when I'm like 14 or 15, then revisit that when I'm like 23 because I was having some issues. Feel like it helps some and feel like I make some progress in counseling and stuff was good. Then stop for all my own personal reasons again. Just once again, kind of feeling like I didn't know what medications were doing anything. I didn't know if it was really getting me anywhere, and that it becomes infinitely harder to diagnose what's wrong in your life and like what you should fix. If it's like, what, how do I feel? What helps? What do I need? If you don't, if you just feel lost and confused about it, it's very much harder to like fix anything. Um, yeah. Um, Point is, I basically find that, insurance becomes infinitely more expensive. I no longer have the ability to meaningfully keep up with the costs. I really don't. I'm just like not fucking interested in trying to appeal to the government and convince them that I'm worth it, like to give me Medicaid. I don't have a job right now, even technically. Like I'm doing freelance work online, so it's just very confusing as to how I would even go about doing that. And the truth is, it just shouldn't be a bunch of bureaucratic nonsense to get yourself some fucking help in the society. This is a fundamental problem, a fundamental uh, disalignment with priorities where it's like more important to keep extracting wealth from you and let you die young than it is to like actually try to make your life better and keep you alive longer. Um, yeah, I don't know. Point is, I'm withdrawing Cymbalta, and it sucks. It feels bad, and it hurts. Um, Cymbalta in particular has a pretty profound effect on your nervous system. So when you suddenly go off of it, which usually I don't recommend at all. Just to be clear, like there's some pills I've not had as strong of effects. I'm not a doctor. I'm not giving anyone any medical advice here, but I've had some medications affect me less as I stop taking them. I have had none of them rack me as hard as Cymbalta is hurting my body right now. It feels a little more in line with what people describe as like classic uh, withdrawal symptoms from like harder drugs. Not to compare it to like, serious withdrawals like alcohol or heroin, but there's a thing that you will notice if you even go like a day or two without your Cymbalta. These things called brain zaps. Best way I could describe it is it's like nervous system and something else that are connecting, are like out of sync for a second or whatever, like just a split second. But to you, it feels like fucking like gnawing like zap to your brain or to your nervous system, like kind of like to my neck, or like it's very disorienting, and it's almost like hard to describe as pain because it doesn't feel like pain, but it is so uncomfortable that I would think it's safe to call it painful as just a shorthand way of being like I don't care for the way it feels. So with me being off Cymbalta and withdrawing from it, it's not fun. It's not enjoyable. It's painful. It's kind of hard. Like it's hard. It comes and goes in waves. Like, and sometimes I feel very clammy and like feverish suddenly, and then it'll go away. Um, but the zaps, the pain, the like nervous system deregulation that is the result of, I don't know, being reliant on this medicine to try to feel better. And so then it sucks too because it's like, do I, was it even worth it? Like I took this Cymbalta for a year or two, 2 years, and was very much under the impression that it was, helpful. But then I don't know. But then finding that if I come off of it, I feel infinitely worse than I ever did on like before I got on it. I got on it for like what I would describe as like uncomfortable but relatively mild like chronic pain symptoms. And then once I got on it, I went, oh, this I think is maybe helpful because this may be helpful with not just my chronic nerve pain, but also like just keeping my nervous system more regulated, keeping me like calmer, keeping me like my stomach is like less upset and things like that. Um, but then you can become reliant on it, like like I liked it, like, and yet now just to be off of it for like a week or two, I feel like I'm fucking dying. It's really miserable, and every day that goes by, I don't know if it's like worth it to try to get a little bit more just to try to like mellow out the symptoms some, or if it's just better to just get through it and be done with it and get it out of my fucking system because I feel like shit. And yeah, it's a bit debilitating. It's a little bit harder to stay focused and be productive in my day because I just feel worse than normal. I feel kind of disjointed and painful and icky and weak in a way that's harder to be motivated. So, moral of the story, reason I said all these things was I don't know, venting to my girlfriend about some of it, and she said that you should do a video diary. Should tell people what you're going through and what led to this and how you feel about it, and what have been your experiences with that in the past. And so I thought I would do that. She's smarter than I am. Um, find yourself a good partner. It doesn't have to be a woman or whatever, but find yourself someone that's like, I don't know, clever and driven and ambitious and roots for you is really, really helpful in life. There's a sign right here in my eyesight that says, "You were always loved by me," and it's a little school bus sticky notepad. Um, Definitely tell you that when you're having a hard time in life, a little bit of morale boost from someone that's rooting for you makes a big fucking difference for sure. So yeah, but the point was, yeah. So stupid fucking Republican evil bastards, you know, couldn't deal with health insurance helping people get along if it was called Obamacare. Mainly, I don't even fucking know. I think the problem I'd heard things about maybe it not covering certain, but the reality is like that's. Let me, you know what, for the sake of this video right now, I'm gonna look up and see like Obamacare, or it's actually called the Affordable Care Act. It's not called Obamacare. So let's look that up real quick, and we'll just kind of take a quick look and see how we feel about it. See if there's anything I'm missing about this uh, discussion. I know some people have been critical of it. Let's see. So let's first start with impacts. Okay, so the law caused a significant reduction of the number and percentage of people without health insurance. The CDC reported that the percentage of people without health insurance fell from 16% in 2010 to 8.9% in June 2016. So within 6 years, there was a 50% reduction in people in the country without health insurance. Seemingly, you could argue this is making the claim that it's based on that, and it's probably a factor. Like I don't know if it's the whole factor, but it's a factor at least of why people would be like, oh, I can afford health. I know I got on health insurance because of shit like this. Because someone was like, brother, you can just. It's not like we live in a weird system where on one hand it's like private corporatized capitalist insurance, and the fucking Republicans will fight tooth and nail till the end of their dying day that it's the most terrible thing in the world to have like a free publicly funded health insurance, um, because just by the very nature of that existing, it will result in them getting shitty health care. Um, I would personally recommend you ask Cuba about that before you just jump to those conclusions, but whatever, we'll move forward. So, there was, yeah, but there was a weird thing that happened for me, and I'm sure lots of people, where it was like, no, 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 you can get insurance. Like, go put your income in, and you're almost certainly going to qualify for like free or heavily subsidized insurance. Like I said, I think 1 or 2 years I was able to get it for zero cost, and then I think it was the year I worked at the hotel, so I would have had like just a pretty modest standard, like slightly above minimum wage, working full time, I think, and that was the year that I was able to qualify for Ambetter, through the health insurance marketplace thing, and get it for 12 cents a month. So yeah, only for that to then turn around and 1 year later be like, oh, the same plan, it'd be $100 a month. And it's like, oh, okay, so cool. I mean, I didn't really do anything meaningfully different, like, and even if I did, like, what the fuck, what would I have to do? Like, become a billionaire or something, for them to go, you don't deserve to have affordable insurance anymore. Or even like a middle, I'm like, I didn't change classes, I didn't change tax brackets. I didn't fucking, um, suddenly become much more well off. That's not what happened. Like, so it's just one of those things where it's like, well, you have to, no, fuck you. Everyone in this country, in a fucking first world country with a billion bajillion dollars to spend in the military and supposedly the world's superpower, most free country in the world, is bullshit. Every goddamn person that lives here, whether illegally or illegally, just to be clear, but everyone that is born here, lives here, is an American citizen, deserves like just a basic access to healthcare, I think. And not having that is this like sign that, you can call it whatever you want. You can say that like communism is the devil, and there's no version of like free or subsidized healthcare that's not like flawed in some way. And I don't fucking care, honestly. I think that we spend so much time having these like stupid, bad faith, cynical ass arguments where it's like, well, Obama. So here we'll go ahead and moving on to the next point. So impact. It helped a lot of people. It helps people, including myself and friends of mine, um, get insurance, get the help they fucking need. Because I don't even fucking like Obama. Like, I don't know how much of this I truly accredit to Obama. I mean, it may very well. I think it was like one of the things he ran on. I don't know, but the reality is, I don't try not to give the credit, that much credit, to the president, because the president is just like a guy, and that, like, the presidency, the cabinets, like the actual sort of like sum total effect of the presidency is not Obama says, and now everyone gets free health. That's not how that's not real. It's not a thing. So I definitely had much better access to healthcare with the ACA intact. Public opinion. Okay, so they became increasingly negative in reaction to specific plans discussed during the legislative debate over 2009 and 2010. Approval varied by party, race, and age. Some elements were more widely favored, pre-existing conditions, or opposed individual mandate. Um, in a 2010 poll, 62% of respondents said that they thought the ACA would increase the amount of money they personally spend on healthcare. 56% said the bill gives the government too much involvement in healthcare. 19% said they thought that they and their families would be better off with the legislation. So only 19% of respondents. Now, respondents, I'm going to go ahead and say, I appreciate the concept of these polls, from what I understand, they do their best to make sure that it's pretty like legitimate data. So I'm not going to sit here and question the legitimacy of the polls themselves. But I am going to question the legitimacy of, is like, who the fuck is it that chooses to participate in these polls? Um, where are all my working class families that were suddenly able to afford insurance? Like, where are their opinions in this? I see 19% of respondents. Let me find the. Can I get? I need to. I want to know where this comes from. This CNN opinion research poll. Let's look that up real quick. Okay. CNN opinion research poll interviews with 1,030 adult Americans, including 953 registered voters, conducted by telephone by Opinion Research Corporation on March 19th through the 21st, 2010. The margin of sampling error for results based on the total sample is plus or minus 3 percentage points, and for registered voters is plus or minus 3 percentage points. Total sample and for registered voters. Okay. Let's see. As you may know, the U.S. House of Representatives and the U.S. Senate are trying to pass final legislation that would make major changes in the country's healthcare system. Based on what you have read or heard about that legislation, do you generally favor it or generally oppose it? 39% favor, 59% oppose, 2% have no opinion. So it is mostly opposed, 20% difference in the polls there, but with a large percentage, almost close to two-thirds of the total, saying no, I don't want it just at all. Yeah. If opposed, do you oppose the legislation because you think its approach towards healthcare is too liberal, or because you think it is not liberal enough? Yeah, this is how you can just tell that how what 16 years ago we were so fucking lost. Like we just did not know what the fuck was going on. Um, Christ, half my life just people being so misguided. I'm actually gonna here make myself smaller, and then I just need to do display capture. There we go. Okay, looking at the CNN. I'll put this away real quick. All right, CNN. So back to the top. CNN opinion research poll of 10,030 adult Americans, including 953 registered voters, conducted by telephone by Opinion Research Corporation on March 19th through the 21st, 2010. They factor in a potential sampling error margin of plus or minus 3 percentage points, both on the total sample and for registered voters. Okay. Here's the first poll. Basically saying, the U.S. House of Representatives and the U.S. Senate are trying to pass final legislation that would make major changes to the country's healthcare system. This would have been in, well, I just fucking read the year, 2010. Yeah. Basically, God, I'm so I was so young when this happened. I really just cannot remember the exact years. Let's find out so I can just not speak out of my ass. He was the president from 2009 to 2017. That is so long, but it's fine. He was, could have been worse, could have been better. Okay. So 2010, yeah, that makes sense. So basically, he talked about it in 2009. He put it into effect, like it's going to happen, or they're talking about trying to pass final legislation. So yes, before it was actually finally passed, but it was definitely like trying to be passed at this point. I need to quit, whatever. Um, Quite a bit of people said that they did want it, like almost 40%. But in reality, my browser is killing me. There we go. In reality, 59% said no, just straight up no, don't want it, don't want what I've heard about it. I don't want it. At this point in 2010, and that's close to two. That's almost two-thirds. That's just about two-thirds. So it's unfortunate. Now, next question was, do you oppose this because you think it's too liberal or not liberal enough? That does not count. That is from people saying they wanted it. Okay, 43% of the people that opposed said it was too liberal. 13% said not liberal enough. What's fucked up is I want to. Hold on. 40, yeah. 40. 53? 52? Yeah. So in reality, when you look at this, it's actually basically 52% of people that actually wanted it to be more liberal healthcare at the time, which is so interesting when you factor in that context. Because if you sorry, I'm just fixing my thing real quick. If you look at it, kind of objectively and go, well, technically two-thirds of people didn't want it, and it's like, okay, but what does that mean? And then we get this like further data, and it's like, okay, well, actually, let's be clear. 39% of people wanted it. That was already indicated up here. Okay. Of the people, so that this just don't count them for a second. Then of the people that didn't want it, 43% didn't want it. They thought it was too liberal. So like basically 43% of the whole group said, I don't want this because it's too liberal. That's the actual people that, when we look at this and we have the argument of government subsidized healthcare or not. Okay, and that's what we were talking about at the time. We were talking about Obamacare. Do we like the sound of what Obamacare is trying to do? People said, largely no. But if you look at the math, it's actually 39% of people that wanted it, and it's 13% of people that didn't want it because it wasn't going far enough. Like it wasn't liberal enough. So now, if we take that and look at it a little bit differently, that's 43% of people say I'm conservative and I don't like the idea of like actual like socialized like subsidized healthcare. Okay, just straight out like they don't like on principle they do not like the idea of this sort of like approach to like giving people more access to healthcare for not less money, or sorry, not at no extra cost. Right? So that's the actual people that genuinely oppose this on principle. Then the people who say I either like it straight up or I don't like it because I wish it went farther, that actually represents the left side of this topic, right? It's not, if you look at it this way, we get, oh man, most people don't want it. 59% is, ballparking. 66%, I think, is what it would take to be two-thirds. So 60% is like pretty close to being two-thirds, the majority, right? That's not good. It's not great. That says on paper, if you just take that at face value, don't read any more into it, that it says that two-thirds of America think that we'd be worse off with some sort of socialized, subsidized healthcare. That the best form of healthcare that could possibly exist in America is some sort of private insurance that is like, obviously going to cost too much and basically turn your health into capital extraction. So that's lovely. But that's what this is kind of. That's not what it's claiming, but that is like an easy takeaway from the data. I'm not making the CNN data is giving all the data they had. I don't personally trust CNN to accurately represent the will of the American people. However, I am talking about current 2026 CNN. I don't know like enough about their history to know how different things may or may not have been. Fucking 16 years ago, when I was literally 14 years old. So I don't know. I was a little boy. But that being said, the point is, what was not true, it was not true that almost two-thirds of the country thought that people having subsidized healthcare was fucking communist bullshit. That's not true. That's not what happened here. And you can find that out just by quickly looking into it a little more. Right here, one more time. 39% of people wanted it in general. That's indicated right here. It's no difference there, okay? The biggest difference here when you factor in the rest of the data here, I mean, 5% said they don't give a fuck, and that's 2% here. So that's who gives that's the least relevant bit. These people are just, I don't know, indifferent, which is annoying. But regardless, when we take the 39% of people that wanted it, just as it was, just liked it, okay, already, and you take the 13% of people that didn't like it, but not because they thought, oh, socialized healthcare is a terrible communist concept. You look at Canada; they're all suffering. Obviously, everyone in Canada is dying. Um, that's not what was happening at all. You take 39% of people that wanted it, you take 13% of people that wished it had gone further, you add it together, you get 52% of people that actually wanted more socialized, more subsidized, more accessible, more affordable healthcare for the average American. In 2010, that's 16 years ago. We have only moved closer to actually supporting these things because the DSA is rising up with a force and a fury in America as a response to the well having well overstayed its welcome, the sort of like neoliberal ushered new wave of American Republican fascism or whatever the fuck you want to call it. That shit's getting old. People are sick of it. People do not align with that. Some people do, and then they make me fucking sick. And I'd love to talk to you about it, but I just don't. I just cannot get behind a worldview that says the state is always right and money is worth more than people's lives. Uh, Happily punch you in the face for those values. So yeah, so I find it very interesting that even in 2010, 16 years ago, CNN ran this data poll. Now, I was questioning originally sort of the validity, not the validity of the poll. I think the poll, from what I understand, these polls are pretty accurate. The validity that I was questioning is that who is opting in to take CNN polls? Like, I understand you would say, well, fucking liberals. It's like, okay. I don't know. I don't know. Do you know? How do you fucking know? Like, I don't fucking know who they talk to get this information. I just know that they would say that we did this in a very, like, um, unbiased and nonpartisan, independent way, and that I'm supposed to take that at face value. So I'm not arguing against it or whatever. I don't care. But yeah, I mean, even in 2010, uh, more than the majority, by a good bit, really, 9% more people in America wanted the people to be able to fucking get quality health care for a reasonable price. And yet, here we are. Uh, damn, a long time now. 16 years later, not yeah, 16, 15 years later, and they finally go, ha, well, even what Obama did was too much for you people. You fucking filthy animals, die of your sicknesses. Die, kill yourself of your mental illnesses, go untreated, and your various psychoses and whatnot. We just don't care about you. It's not indicative of the majority opinion in America, and it frankly probably never has been. And even if it ever was, it wasn't even that way 16 years ago, according to CNN, who you could argue is a bunch of fucking liberal, whatever the fuck. But I actually think that CNN is super fucking moderate and not left enough. And if you think CNN's like radical, like liberal communism or whatever the fuck, you're just so insanely out of touch. CNN is like actively antagonizing the DSA because they are pro neoliberal Democratic Party. They don't want a single fucking change. They want things to stay the way they have. People that are ushering in change are scary and foreign and un-American, even though America is a country that's supposedly founded on your freedom of speech and your freedom of beliefs and your freedom of opinion and your freedom of religion. That's not actually the vibe of the current Republican Party. If you bring a gun to a protest, then you are a terrorist that should be killed. They don't even defend the Second Amendment anymore, apparently. So that's just yeah, we're not there, and the people are over it. People are really over it. People have been over it, frankly. I think they just felt so disenfranchised. Would be my best guess. Like people just felt like there was no point, that their opinion meant nothing, and I think people still feel that way. I just think that it's time to wake the fuck up. Um, People should not fear their government. Government should fear their people. Like it's it's just a numbers game. I don't when they say like, "Oh, what you don't believe in law and order?" That's not real, bro. Like who does law and order? Like, is it the government? Like, who's the government? Like, the government's made of what? Employees, like cops. Like, I don't like love police or anything, but law and order is comprised of like federal employees, right? Like, they're federal employees. They work on the federal payroll. They're paid by American tax dollars. And even if I don't like love the institution of like police or like border patrol or ICE or whatever, I can tell you that those are people, like human people, like normal enough people. Like obviously not my kind of people, but like they're also going to have like their own opinion. Basically, is what I think I was getting at. I've lost the point a little bit. The point I was getting at is I do not know. I have lost the track of my thoughts. But this is about, I think, all I will say for today. How long did I stream? I streamed for almost 2 hours, like just a proper little fucking, just a fucking, just an endless yapper, just to talk forever and ramble incoherently. I think as I go forward, I want to do this with more intention and purpose. I really would love to get more people in these. I mean, literally anyone. This is day one. I did not have, didn't have any viewers, obviously, but I would love to get people in here to have discussions, have debates. I am not the most well-read person ever. There's a lot that I don't know, but I am feel perfectly competent to like sit down and have a conversation. I don't give a shit like what viewpoint you bring to me. I feel comfortable. I also have the internet available to me right now, and like I can literally pull up whatever I need to, you know. So it's just it's just the reality that I want to do a lot of different stuff, and I'm happy to have debates, and I'm happy to talk politics, and I'm happy to talk about like life and like philosophy and like science and spirituality and um, I'm intending on doing some like nature vlogs. Oh, what else? I may do some video essays. I may do some historical content, political content. I may try to start like responding maybe to like daily news. I just got a lot of fucking ideas and thoughts of what I can do here. And I think about what the main thing is I just need to like I came in today with a very loose structure. I just wanted to kind of tell a story, and any kind of like ramblings that spit off from that were fine, just extra content. I will probably edit this at some point down to a like a more normal video and try to make maybe a couple concise points out of it, considering that there's like 2 hours of me talking about different things. And yeah, but the point is, I want to do different stuff. I have a lot of different plans, ideas, and I will try my hardest going forward to come into a stream with a plan, um, with a schedule, with an intention, because ideally these streams will be uh, focused enough to have a goal in mind, so that I can probably turn them into a video as well, or make some shorts out of them or whatever. I know people have different like engagement preferences, and really most people probably don't sit down and watch the stream. The only appealing thing about streaming for me is just the ability to have an open forum to do and say what I please, respond to people in the comments, bring my friends in, make content out of the stream, not have to necessarily go into the stream with like I think the intimidating thing about making YouTube videos right off the bat is like, okay, plan the whole video out right now. You have to. The video will not be made until you plan it out and make it and edit it and deliberate on it over and over and over. I think, honestly, interesting analogy is like I've been in a lot of bands before. Not a lot of I've been in a handful of bands. I've played in bands before. And when you're playing in a band, there is an element of like jamming, improvising that's happening where people like I would always be in metal bands, and me and my friends, you have similar enough taste in music that you start to expect the song to go a certain way. You can improvise and not even say anything because you can just literally just jam, and as long as everyone's like got like a rough understanding of how music works, you're gonna kind of get there. Sorry. Point being, when you're like, I'm gonna make a song by myself. Like I'm gonna go. I sometimes make electronic music. You're gonna go and like work and like do music production, or just completely on your own write a song. The workflow changes dramatically. Um, I guess you could get creative and you could find a way to bridge those gaps. Like you can't jam, but you can improvise. You can't jam as in you don't have like a band to jam with. You can improvise as in you can still play things off the top of your head. So I think that's where I'm at. Is like, how about instead of saying you either have to be completely like a fucking baker or a painter, plotting the whole thing out in advance, and it only works if everything makes perfect sense in that specifically guided structure. I think I would rather do a thing that's akin to jamming while recording it and then looking back over it to see if there's anything worth kind of focusing in on. Um, like I have no problem with the fact that the stream was kind of like a long 2 hour ramble about various things, and that I kind of had one story that I aimed to tell, and I told it over fucking like an hour and a half or something. Um, but ideally, in the videos, there will be like something worth editing down into like a video. That way, people don't have to sit and watch me like filter through 2 hours of me rambling to find a coherent point. Uh, yeah. So I think that'll be it for me. I will stop the stream and I will see about editing this down, and I will see about streaming again soon. It's kind of fun. And honestly, even if I don't stream to an audience, I think this is just like a fine way to just do like a video diary, you know, just like sit down and like let yourself let it out and at least trick yourself into thinking you're doing something productive. Um, I think that's part of the problem in the society is that we think if we're not doing something productive, then it's not worth doing at all. So if this is what it takes for you to sit down and process your feelings and thoughts, then do it. Um, Hell, if you're too afraid to show it to anyone, don't hit stream, hit record instead. I'm doing both right now so that I can edit this later. Yeah, so whatever. I will be around because I fucking feel like it. Goodbye.